Oh yeah! First take! First freaking take! Okay, alright. Hey everybody, how you doing? That's right, we're doing another Akatsuki video. That makes number 3, which possibly, maybe means that this is going to be a regular thing on the channel. I'm not really sure yet, but there is one thing I am sure of. Before we get into this discussion, I have to tackle one of the most difficult things in my entire life, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull it off. Deidara. Deidara. Not Deidara. Deidara. Deidara used his explosive clay against... No, Deidara. Deidara used his explosive clay against Sasuke. Okay, Deidara. No, Deidara. Deidara. No. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're good. It's Deidara. Okay, locked in. Oh, yeah. I should probably address this first. Alright, so I did the Hedon video last week, right? And I kept calling him Deidara, right? Not Hedon. I called Hedon, but I called Deidara, and everyone in the comments is like, should we tell him he's pronouncing it wrong? And I'm like, yeah. See, here's the thing, like, a lot of times when you're reading manga, you might not know how a character's name is pronounced right away. And that was the case when I first was introduced to the character of Deidara. Alright, so back when I was in high school and I was reading my manga, I came across his character. I'm like, oh man, awesome character. I just kept calling his name Deidara. I had like 3 friends that also read Naruto in high school. They called him Deidara too. And here's the thing though, even after the Shippuden anime, you know, was dubbed and after I started watching it like the original, and they pronounced it Deidara as well, I still kept pronouncing it Deidara. I don't know why. This is one of the instances where it's just like, yeah, I just kept calling him that. And whenever I go back and rewatch Shippuden and sit down and watch an episode and they pronounce it Deidara, I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. I've been pronouncing his name wrong the entire time. Oh well, keep watching, you know, and just keep calling him Deidara, right? It's one of those things that I have been doing for well over a decade. I will try my best to pronounce it right in this video, alright? I will try to say it Deidara, but I'm gonna flub it a few times. I know I am, and going back and editing out, like, every little instance, that's not gonna be possible. It'll be, like, really choppy, like how... I mean, it depends. I'm gonna seriously try. Maybe I can get through the video. Maybe I can pull it off like I did with the flip. Oh, okay, I guess I'm a natural talent with this, but seriously, like, I'm gonna flub it. I'm gonna say Deidara a few times, probably more than a few times. I'm sorry, just bear with me, but let's just get into this, okay? And oh, by the way, let me know below if there's any other anime or manga characters that you mispronounce their names, and even after you know how they're properly pronounced, you still mispronounce them, because I am like peripherally aware whenever I watch Shippuden that like, oh yeah, it isn't pronounced Deidara, but it's just like, yeah, that's just, well, that's what I've been saying for like ever, so that's what I'm gonna keep on doing. But whatever, let's get into the crux of this video right now. Deidara versus Sasuke. I mean, let's just address that first off, because this is one of my favorite fights in the entire series. Part 1, Part 2, don't care, bar none. If I was going to make top 10 best Naruto fights, this would definitely be on the list, probably in the top 5. Love this fight to death. Love Deidara's character to death. And of course, it's apt because Deidara did in fact die, because true art is an explosion! Aha! Okay, we don't have the budget for explosions on this show, I guess, but whatever, we'll just roll with it. Okay, so, man, Deidara is a perfect example of how just, like, little quirky things you can give a character can go a long way, alright? Things like hairstyle. Deidara has an awesome hairstyle. I love the ponytail. I love the locks, right? He's got the anime thing going on where only one eye is, you know, shown at any given time. He's got the bangs over one of his eyes. Sometimes in anime that's relevant. Sometimes it isn't. In the case with Deidara, it is in fact relevant because he's got an awesome eye scope. That's one thing about Naruto, going back and rewatching it. It's like, look, this world takes place in, like, kind of feudal-esque Japan, but there's also, like, machines and technology and electricity and stuff like that. They don't have guns or, like, ballistic missiles or anything. The closest you're gonna get to that is, honestly, Deidara's jutsu, right? But, you know, they still have technology like that, so it's like Deidara has this, like, scope thing that he puts over his eye, like a freaking scouter from Dragon Ball, and allows him to see long distances, and it's a very pivotal thing for training his eye to actually match and see through Genjutsu, so I really love that
that. We're going to get into that when we talk about his fight with Itachi and how that kind of, like, emotionally and mentally scarred him and how he wanted to, like, be better than the Sharingan and, like, improve, and how he used, like, science to do that. So that's a really cool aspect of his character. So, you know, they got the hair, got the eye thing, got the scope, and then you also have just his, the way he talks. He adds that, at the end of, like, every single one of his, like, sentences, or it's like ue in Japanese. It's like a nasal kind of thing he does there. And it doesn't really do, I mean, it doesn't, like, mean anything. It's not, like, any big reason why he does that. That's just, like, a little verbal thing that Kishimoto gave him, but it adds some distinction to his character. I really love that. So it's just like, so you are Sasuke Uchiha, you know, just adding that little thing, just the way he talks. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. On top of that, like, in the English, I know this is more of a thing. I think in the Japanese, it's more of, like, an honorific, but in the English, he, like, refers to, like, characters like my man. So it's like, hey, Sasori, my man, just hang out here. I'm gonna take care of Gaara, you know? I don't know, it's just little things like that. And then they're not even, like, you know, the big things like his actual jutsu, or what he can really do with, you know, his explosive clay or anything like that, or his, like, chakra level or anything like that. It's just, like, he has cool hair, he has a cool eye scope, he talks cool. Yeah, he's a cool character. So right away, really, really digging on Deidara here. So Deidara first pops up right after the time skip. All right, he pops up with Sasori, okay, and who I also might have been mispronouncing as Sasori, whatever, okay. And so I'm looking at these two here, and I'm thinking, all right, Puppet Dude is cool, you know, and then later on we got Sasori's fight with Chiyo and Sakura, and I like the whole puppet aspect, taking Kankuro's thing and just expanding on it more, as like there's more puppet masters out there. I'm liking that. I'm gonna have fun with Sasori's video when I get to that. Also, he's voiced by Johnny Young Bosch in the English dub, so I'm really gonna have fun with that. Anytime I do a video on one of Johnny's characters, I'm a big fan. But Deidara kind of blew him out of the water. I mean, it was awesome, okay? He goes up against Gaara. This is right after the time skip. We find out Gaara is now the flipping Kazekage, and Deidara is member of the Akatsuki, gonna bring him in. And we had all part 1 of Naruto. I am just rewatching the Chunin exam arc right now. You know, back when Gaara was a little bit murder-tastic, so to speak. Remember that episode when freaking Shikamaru and Naruto are heading back up through the freaking arena, and Gaara's coming down to fight Sasuke, and those two grass ninja are there, like, hey kid, you better throw the match for our boss. And Gaara just, like, straight up murders 2 people in a hallway right in front of Shikamaru and Naruto, and then they just, like, you know, scream bloody murder, gets sucked into the walls, the sand just crushes them to pieces, and then Gaara just slowly walks by down the steps. Yeah, that character, of course. And then later on, Gaara versus Kimimaro was also really epic, so we know what Gaara is capable of at this point, and he's fighting Gaara on home field. He's fighting Gaara in the middle of the damn desert, and he's the Kazekage now, so he's, like, way stronger, we can assume, after the 2 years, right? And so Gaara's fight with freaking Deidara is an amazing way to kick off this freaking time skip. A great way to kick off Shippuden. That's how you, like, dive right into it, right? Like, you know, time skip in One Piece, we didn't really get anything crazy like that. You know, time skip in One Piece, we had Luffy beating up some pacifistas, Zoro Sanji beating up some pacifistas at Sabaody. Like, that was cool. Like, if it was, like, right after the time skip, Zoro fought against Shiryu, like, 3 chapters after the time skip, Zoro versus Shiryu's full balls-out fight, like, that would have been epic, right? This is kind of like the level that I'm feeling here. Like, we know what Gaara is capable of. Here's the freaking Akatsuki, and it's a crazy-ass fight. So, what we get is Deidara using his explosive clay technique. He is from the hidden village of the stone, so it makes sense. He has an earth-style jutsu. At this point in the story, barring all the filler crap, which is copious in Naruto, we didn't really get much from the land of earth, or the village hidden in the stones. It was kind of the most mysterious out of the 5 hidden villages at this point, and then we get this Deidara guy that has, you know, the headband is like, oh, he's from there. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. He's from Iwagakure. Okay, cool. And he can use explosive clay. So the way he does this, as we find out in the flashback, is he's always been an artist, except his art is a little bit different than, like, Sasori's aspect of art, you know, where he makes his puppets, and, like, his art kind of, like, stands the test of time even after his death, like his puppets live on. Deidara's philosophy on art and everything artistic is true art is an explosion, and to break that down at a fundamental level, basically what he means is true art cannot be captured on a canvas or in a puppet or in a statue. True art can only be expressed in an instant, and then it's gone, which you know, I'm not a huge artist or anything like that. Like, I'm not painting and stuff. Like, I'm stick figure level. But I mean, reading Naruto, I could see the perspective there. I could see it. Like, oh yeah, like true art is something like think of fireworks. You ever go to a summer festival and see fireworks? Like, in that instant when they just explode in the sky, they're beautiful, and they only last a brief second before it all, like, fades out. So it's not like some kind of, like, random anime, like, logic or something where I don't really understand where you're coming from, or you have to have a few screws loose to really understand it. No, I get where he's coming from. He's just like, my explosions in the instant that they go off are pieces of art in and of themselves. But you can't capture it, you can't freeze it in time, it's just that moment. And if you take that away, if you were to, like, you know, take a picture of my explosion or something like that and pass it around, like, that wouldn't be true art at that point. You're cheapening it. And this is somebody that really takes value in art. It's not just a hobby for him, it's like the basis for his whole jutsu, and it's a big philosophy whenever he fights. Later on, like Deidara, when he comes back as a zombie near the end of the story during the war, he has the ability to use his, like, C0, like, his, like, strongest attack, like, giant explosion for, like, a kilometer, just, like, boom, like, an entire, like, nuke, okay? He can do that, and he's an Edo Tensei, so he can do that, and then, basically with no repercussions, and come right back, and then do it again. But he actually refuses to do that, or he has, like, some misgivings about doing it, because he's like, that would cheapen my art. This is like my finale. This is my grand finale that I'm only supposed to be able to use once in my life. That, like, I detonate this giant, like, glob of clay inside of me, and there's this huge explosion, and it has this unique shape, and it takes up, like, the huge countryside. It, like, you know, it scrapes the stratosphere itself with this epic explosion. I only should do this once. And even if I could do it multiple times, like, C0, boom, and then, whoosh, all right, I'm back again, C0. I don't want to do that because it would cheapen the art. You know what I mean? So that's really his philosophy on all this. So this unique kind of jutsu from the village hidden in the stones allows Deidara to have mouths on his hands. Like, actual mouths. Like, you know, lips and teeth and tongue and everything on his hands. And he also has one that's stitched up on his chest, but we only get to see that when he's using C0. But, yeah, now there's practical purposes for having, you know, mouths on your hands. There's a few, and in fact, that I can actually think of. But the way that Deidara uses them is he takes a bunch of his clay that he keeps in pouches on his waist, on like a little like belt, and he just reaches in with his mouth hands, and then they eat up the clay, and then chew it, and then, you know, they can shape it into whatever he wants. So he can make birds, he can make owls, which are in fact birds, now that I think about it. He can make, you know, clay dolls that look like people. He can make snakes. He can make pretty much anything he wants out of clay, infuse his chakra into the clay, use a special jutsu, and then create a clay clone, or he can create an explosive out of clay, and that's basically where all of his techniques come from, of course. And this is notched up on the level of C's, from C1, C2, C3, C4, and then at C0 is his strongest technique, okay? And these C's are, of course, in reference to C4 and, like, C2, like explosives that you would see by, like, you know, SWAT units or, like, the military. I believe the C in that regard actually stands for composite, right? If I'm not mistaken. I didn't look it up to check, but I think the C in, like, C4 stands for composite, right? So I don't know if it does in the context with, Deidara as well. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But anyway, C1 explosives are very small. They're just like little birds or little small animals, little clay lizards or something he creates, or little clay ants, and then he just, like, you know, sends them out. So their explosive power is very low, but in the, you know, the advantage of that is that he can make a bunch at once. I remember back in college, me and my friend would always play Ultimate Ninja Storm 3, and Deidara is one of the cheapest, you know, characters in that fighting game because he has this technique where he can basically just spam all of his little explosives, and you can just like basically like stun lock your opponent with that stuff. So I remember that. I remember being cheap with Deidara there in that game. But yeah, you could basically just send out a bunch of these birds, and they go off. They're gonna be, I mean, they're gonna rock you. I mean, they're not going to, you know, kill you or anything like that. But if explosive goes off close to your head, it's gonna rock your senses or whatever. And I guess they can be dangerous in large numbers. But the advantage, of course, is like, you know, a lot of bang, not so much bang, but a lot of more quantity, you know, so to speak. So C2 is stepping things up quite a bit from just little tiny like birds and stuff. We now go to a dragon. So it's no there's other stuff he can do. He can make, clay clones of himself and attack the enemy like that. But that stuff I think is all still under the auspice of C1. C2 is going to the next level. C2 making a giant dragon out of clay that is capable of flight. And then Deidara gets on the top of the dragon, flies around, basically just dropping a bunch of clay bombs on the entire battlefield, just like an air raid, just like and so this is something crazy because, you think Sasuke going up against Deidara is, we don't know everything Deidara is capable of yet. We know he uses explosive clay, but that's it, And so Sasuke's got the freaking Sharingan, he's got the curse mark still at this point, his level 2 curse seal, he's got, the Chidori, he's got all that crazy crap that he learned from Orochimaru over 2 years. So going into it, you're thinking Sasuke probably has the advantage here, but then it's just oh yeah, okay, so Deidara starts air raiding him, and then eventually I think one of Sasuke's wings gets damaged or lopped off, or he can't fly with it or whatever, and so basically he has a huge advantage there. So it was really a back and forth fight. This was a fight where it was there was no definite winner right at the offset, and whenever Sasuke gets a little bit of an advantage, then Deidara ups the C level and he gets another advantage, and then oh my god, Deidara won. It's oh no, then Sasuke comes up with his curse seal, or he uses something with his Sharingan. So this was really a back and forth fight. Really enjoyed this little arc here. Of course, if it gets damaged, if one of the wings gets lopped off, then it can't fly anymore, and it's probably going to crash. On top of that, the clay that is being used to drop the explosives comes from the dragon's tail. So basically, the dragon has a long tail, and then as more, bombs and mines and stuff Deidara is dropping on the battlefield, the tail has to slowly shorten as more and more clay is being used up. So eventually, you're going to either run out of clay, or you're going to get to a point where there's not enough clay to support the dragon, and the dragon's not going to be able to fly anymore. So there's definitely a limit to how long he can use the C2, but under normal circumstances, this technique, because not everybody can fly in Naruto. Sasuke had the curse seal, he had wings. Naruto at the end basically becomes a damn demigod, he can fly. Flying is not a common thing in Naruto. If you have an ability that allows you to fly, that is a huge advantage to a good chunk of ninja in this world, unless they have some kind of projectile that's really far range and also very accurate. You're not going to be able to really do much, okay? So yeah, that's C2. Very impressive attack. Sasuke eventually ends up jumping in the air using his sword and his his lightning release to slice off one of the wings and causes the dragon to drop. I should also mention at this point a few things. Number one, Deidara's jutsu basically combines earth style and lightning style. I assumed because it was an explosion, we're going to do earth and fire. Just Katsu! But no, it's earth and lightning combined together to make his explosive clay. I'm alright, I'm with you. But then you look at the Naruto chakra, nature transformation chart, and you look how each of the elements, square off against one another. Let's take a look at that chart, because it makes my brain hurt in some places. Okay, fire is strong against wind. Alright, with you so far, because, the logic being, and Yamato even mentioned this, and this became a plot point later on when Naruto and Sasuke did that combo attack, you fire and wind, and that makes the fire just burn stronger and hotter. So, okay, I'm with you so far. Wind is strong against lightning. Okay, yeah, I'm not really sure the logic behind that, but okay. Is it air is an insulator for lightning? Is that the logic we're going with here? Maybe? I don't know exactly, but I'm just picturing giant lightning bolt! Oh no, it's been defeated! Okay, well, whatever, moving on. Lightning is strong against earth. See, the problem here is that I'm a Pokemon kid. Alright? And I liked Pokemon long before I liked Naruto. I liked Pokemon long before Naruto even came to the States. So, Earth, ground type, strong against lightning, electric type. No! Naruto, Kishimoto's screw that! No! Lightning is strong against Earth. I guess because, lightning can be... Wait, no, that doesn't make any sense, because, the ground is, grounded lightning, but so you think ground should be strong against, That's the one thing I'm kind of whatever. And then you got earth strong against water. I'm alright, because, the water is soaked up by the earth, and then the water is strong against fire, because obviously, right? Okay, I get the other ones. Wind and lightning is a little weird, but I'm okay with it. I'll go with it. But the lightning earth thing... I guess you could kind of spin it to make it make sense, but it just always irked me because this is like a huge weakness to Deidara that we find out during the Sasuke fight, that if you just run a little bit of electrical release through his explosives, they are turned into duds. They're disarmed, essentially. So that's like, aha! I've scattered my explosive clay mines all over this battlefield. You can't hope. You take one step and you're gone. And all Sasuke has to do is like charge up. He just uses his Sharingan, sees the mines underground, and like charges up lightning and just stabs it and just like disengages the bomb. And I'm like, oh, all right. Also kind of confusing because it's Earth and Lightning working together and it's still work against Lightning. You think you could have like a half, you know, like it's like 0.5 weakness against Lightning, maybe not a full weakness, like just a little bit of Lightning release is enough to completely, you know, disarm a bomb. Like, okay, whatever, whatever, fine, it's Naruto, that's the rules we're working with, I guess that's the rules we're working with, but that's the thing. So Sasuke uses his Lightning Sword to slice apart the wing. C3, Deidara does not use against Sasuke, but he used this against Gaara when he fought against him. And C3 is basically just like BFE. You know, yeah, you know what that stands for. It's a BFE, okay? And, you know, he just basically makes, like, a cool little statue, you know, a decently sized statue, and it just kind of drops it on freaking, you know, Village Hidden in the Sand, and then it just opens up, sorry, Barry, just opens up its wings, and then boom! And then Gaara, in order to stop that, had to basically, like, rise all the sand up from around the village to protect it, and he took some damage, and he burned up a lot of chakra in that as well. But that's C3. It's the BFE, okay? So after C3, we get to C4. Now, C4 is like, oh, okay, that's like the explosive, like, you know, you would probably be most familiar with, like, in our world, right? Okay, so what's this? Well, it's not the same as C4 in our world. I'll tell you, this is great. This is awesome. I freaking love the creativity here with Deidara's abilities. You know, you just start off with like, okay, he has clay and he can make explosives, but you're going to be more creative than that. The explosives are not just going to be boom, boom, boom. They're going to be like, you know, statues coming to life and attacking you and, you know, the mines underground and everything like that. They're going to be clever. C4 is an incredibly clever ability, and I really commend Kishimoto for coming up with this, okay? So, it's basically nano explosions. It's insane how this works. So he activates C4. I believe initially it looks like he blows up, but then it's like a giant form of himself appears like, you know, overhead, like this huge skyscraper Deidara, you know, and it's just like the whole thing is made out of like clay and it's hollow. And so it's like this lumbering giant, which at first it's like, oh, that's kind of intimidating. We should probably run away from the giant skyscraper clone, okay? But then this thing begins to swell up, like, you know, and it's like, oh, I had a lot of tacos last night. Oh, no, boom! And then the whole thing explodes, but it's not a big kaboom. Where was the earth-shattering kaboom? It's just like a balloon, just kind of like pop, and it's like, ah! What happened? There was no kaboom. Like, all right, it was a dud. And that lulls your enemy maybe into a false sense of security. Maybe it misfired. Maybe he didn't have enough chakra. I don't know. I don't see anything. There are tiny, microscopic clay-like bacteria. Like, he takes little tiny scraps of clay, like tiny little minute particles. You can't even see them with the naked eye. They're so dinky. Creates these little tiny clay explosive, these little tiny bugs, and they burst outward from the explosion and are inhaled by everything around it that breathes. So every animal, birds, deer, bears, tigers, oh my, humans tend to breathe. So, you know, breathe in, you get these things in your body, circulate around your lungs and in your bloodstream and everything, and then right when the time is right, Katsu, detonate. And the, it's not an explosion, because they're so micro, it literally causes your body to disintegrate from, like, inside. Like, he activates it, and it's just like, what's going on? Oh, oh no! Shh! And then you just fade into the wind. Very apropos, given, you know, Deidara's, views on art and everything like that. Just like, ah! Shh! And that scene where you see Sasuke, like, disintegrating. It's like, Now, this is Naruto, so you see stuff like that, you can always chalk it up to like, oh, that was a clone, or that was a substitution, or that was Genjutsu mind screwery. So you see stuff like this, and it's like, alright, that's cool, but it's probably not, Sasuke's probably not dead, right? But man, Deidara, that was like his big ace in the hole. Not his final big explosion, but that was like his big trump card. You could tell he was really proud of that, okay? The microscopic explosion thing. He should have used that, I think, probably more when he got revived rather than the C0, because the C4 is like, you don't know when it's coming, and once it's inside of you, you're screwed. I think the only reason Sasuke was able to survive it is because he has lightning, so he could just discharge lightning release inside of his bloodstream to, disengage all the explosives, to turn it all into duds. But if you don't know that it's inside you, if you don't know that, you're dead. You're still dead regardless, right? So anyway, Deidara trained his left eye using his scope, so he can use his scope like long range, like he can see far away, but something else that he can do is when he takes off the scope, he can actually see through Genjutsu. So this is where we get into this, okay? So, a couple years back, the Akatsuki found out about Deidara. He's living in the hidden village of the stone, and, he's got this explosive technique and whatever, and they're like, cool, let's try to recruit him into the Akatsuki. He seems like he's a good candidate. So, Itachi and Kisame go to bring him in, and Deidara's like, leave me alone. It's like, Deidara's like, no, I'm not joining your weird organization. Go away. And, they're like, okay, well, this is kind of more than an invitation. We're basically kind of telling you to do this. And so Deidara comes up with a proposition. He's like, okay, how about this? Itachi, you seem pretty strong. Fight me. If you win, I'll join your group, and if I win, you just leave me alone. And so Itachi's like, sure, why not? And so Deidara, he gives it his shot. He does his, I think he used, those clay snakes to try to, attack and, restrain Itachi and, blow him up. But, of course, Itachi's got Genjutsu Mangekyo mind screwery, so just I've looked at you, and the battle's over. That's pretty much it. It really is an OP ability. If you don't know it's coming, you're screwed. It's just all right, I'll fight you. Okay, and the fight's over. We made eye contact, fight's over. So, unless you have some crazy powerful ability that allows you to break out of some of the strongest Genjutsu in the entire world, fight's over. So anywho, Deidara gets defeated there, gets mentally kind of scarred from that encounter, and I'm gonna figure out a way to beat that freaking Sharingan. That Sharingan is too broken, it's too OP, I'm gonna figure out a way to beat it with science. And then he finds his little, I don't know if he makes it or he buys it or he gets somebody else to make it, I don't know what's up with it, but he gets his little eye scope thing, and I'm not really sure exactly how you do this, but he trained his eye to see through Genjutsu. Alright, no matter what kind of Genjutsu. So he takes off his scope and he opens up his left eye and it's It's alright, oh, okay. And he can tell, oh, Genjutsu is afoot. My attack did not kill Sasuke. Alright, I should be on guard here. And so he can do that, and he did this periodically throughout the fight, and you could tell, he had to put up a facade on the outside to make him think that, oh, Sasuke's dead, ha ha ha! And then Sasuke shows up, he's like, sneak attack! Ah, but I knew you weren't really dead, so sneak attack on the sneak attack! He has to keep up the facade, but every single time Deidara tried to destroy Sasuke, it's C2 didn't work, C4 didn't work. Every time he opened his eye to check, he's like, alright, I did it. I know I did it, now I just have to check on the— ah, come on! Alright, fine. And then finally, his last attack, he's like, I got nothing left. Sasuke's like, I could see your different chakra, you're explosive with different color. I saw the micro explosions as one big cloud, and I could just, dodge out of the way, or I could use my electricity to turn them into duds, so I'm fine, I'm cool. And Deidara's like, alright, you know what? Screw this. I don't even care anymore. You're going down if I have to freaking if I take you with me. I'm taking you with me. So he rips off his shirt, and underneath it, he's got a tattoo right here. And it's another stitched up mouth. This one's a huge one. So he rips off the stitches, and then it's just like a giant maw just opens up, takes all the explosive clay he's got, just shoves it into his chest mouth. He's a very weird character. Chews it all up, and then his whole body just starts going transparent like a ghost, as all of his chakra is just compressed at one point, and it's just alright, well, this has been fun, Sasuke, have a good time in hell, true art is an explosion! and it's huge. It's like, I think for several kilometers, the explosion is like a nuclear bomb blast. It just levels everything. And I mean, Sasuke summoning a giant snake in order to hide in it at the last minute and then teleport back into the, the cave where the snakes live, just barely avoiding the explosion. Some could say that was a little bit too far-fetched. Some could say that, how the hell did he have enough time to do that? So it's literally like an explosion beyond anything he's ever witnessed before. And Sasuke is just like, oh no! Wait a second. Hi, Manda, how you doing? Okay, let's go. Reverse step. Okay, boom! Nah! That explosion happened pretty damn fast, Sasuke. Don't really know how you were able to do that, but you survived and Deidara died, so I guess we have to go with that. But okay, whatever. And yeah, I'll tell you what though, when Deidara came back as a zombie, when we saw him arrive on the island with the owl and fight against Onoki there, like that was awesome. I had fun. When I saw Deidara getting some action again in the story, I'm like, yeah, he's back. All right. And once again though, I feel like, the way he went out as a zombie, kind of similar to Kimimaro, where I felt like you could do more stuff with Kimimaro. And like I said, I don't know about the anime or fillers or power or whatever else stuff is added, because I'm just literally talking about, Deidara from what I remember here. But I'm telling you, like, basically what it was like Sasori and him are back again, right? And then the advanced squad show up, like the scout squad. So it's Omoi there from the Cloud Village, right? And so he gets trapped in the puppet and just basically gets run through with a bunch of swords. So he's about to do his, like, C0 again. Like, fine, you know what? I don't want to keep doing this because it cheapens it, but I guess I'll launch this attack again. And right before he's about to do it, he gets run through with Raiton, with electric, and he just can't do it anymore. And then he just gets destroyed. I think he gets sealed inside of the crow puppet or something until the Edo Tensei is disengaged, right? I think there might be some more stuff in the anime, but it's like, I feel like that was kind of a cheap way to end him out. Like, he could have gotten off 1C0 or 1C4 before that. Whatever. What are you gonna do, right? But man, Deidara, awesome character. Got his arms ripped off quite a bit. I remember that. He fought against Gaara, got one of his arms crushed there. Kakuzu had to stitch that back up or get a transplant. And then freaking Kakashi Kamui, the other one, like ripped off his freaking like chunk of his arm, like right here. Like his whole elbow was sucked into another dimension. So they had to give him like a fake, like it looked like tree bark, when he had that thing on there. So I remember that. But he was around for quite a bit in part 2. He was around for quite a sizable bit up until volume 40 here with this battle, and then after that he shows up again as an Edo Tensei, and I feel like it's kind of, they could have done more stuff with him, but then again, we had a lot of zombies coming back, we had this whole war going on, so there was a lot of other stuff involved here, and this was just like the forward scout division fighting against freaking Deidara, but man, you know what I'm saying, man? I'm just like, could have had a little bit more action with him. But hey, he's Barry's favorite character, certainly, because bricks, I don't know if you knew this, are basically just like hard-fired clay. It's, you take some clay, you heat it up a lot, and then you get old Barry here, yeah. So, Deidara was great, loved him, probably mispronounced his name quite a bit in this video. I apologize for that. I did better than I thought I would, though. I was definitely aware of it a few times, but I'm like, oh, whatever, keep going, whatever. So, let me know how you feel about Deidara's character, his personality, his technique, and, if Sasuke surviving was kind of bullshit, because I kind of find it, kind of BS a little bit there. But let me know in the comments section below, and you know what, at this point, I think we're gonna save Hitachi for last. But let me know below on which Akatsuki member would you like me to discuss next, because I'm pretty much up for, like, any of them. Like, I could see myself talking about Sasori next. Sasori, now I'm just messing with you. Pain would be an awesome, solid video there for Nagato. Kisame would be great. Orochimaru, that, especially since I'm just rewatching Chunin Exam in like early Naruto, oh boy, that one would be fun. Yeah, on how his character arc goes. But yeah, I'm pretty much up for anyone, so Kakuzu even would be a lot of fun. But anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments below. This will be Tekking signing out. True art is an explosion, Barry! Boom!